Podcast reviews, do they actually help? Welcome back, everybody, to Podcast Answers. It has been a few hot minutes since I've been on this show, guys. I am super sorry about that. I've been meaning to get on. There's a topic that I was going to discuss, and it just didn't come together like I wanted it to come together. And so now you get me. Now you're here. What do I do? What is this show all about, guys? This is a show where I help people start and grow their podcasts, answering any podcasting questions along the way. And that's right, I really want to help you grow your show and start your show. So if you've had any podcasting questions that you've been dying to ask, I would love to answer them. But today, like I said, podcast reviews. Does it even matter? Does it matter that we have ratings and reviews? I hear a lot about ratings. I hear a lot about reviews. I hear people say things like, rate and review our show. It helps people discover the show. But does it really? Does it really? Well, first, guys, we will get into that topic. But first, I wanted to let you know that we are going to be changing the time. I think I'm going to be changing the time of this show. I do record this show live, and it's during the day, and so I don't get a lot of feedback during this show. It's usually when I'm on my lunch for work, and so I just don't get a lot of people talking back with me, watching live, joining with me. So I want to change that. So I'm going to be changing the live recording to happening Tuesday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. So again, you heard that again. Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern is when we are going to be doing this show live from now on YouTube. You can find our YouTube channel at podcastanswers.com/YouTube. That'll get you over to our YouTube channel. But again, we are going to be doing this show live on YouTube, and it's going to be we're going to do it 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. That way we can hopefully get a little more people in there. But I wanted to come during our regular time this time. So you missed it. If you're joining us now, it's not here. So with that, yes, next time we will record 9 p.m. Eastern. So we're talking today about ratings and reviews. And again, like I said, I hear a lot of people say things like, hey, rate and review our show. It means a lot to me. It will help people find the show. Part of that statement is true. It means a lot to me. That is where people love hearing ratings and reviews, but does it really help people discover the show? So a couple different things. Why are ratings and reviews so important? Social proof. So if you don't know what social proof is, essentially it's when you look at that Amazon, you searching on Amazon for the next greatest blanket that you want to buy. I don't know. Give me some room here. I don't know why you'd be looking for blankets, but if you're looking for that next great blanket and you say, hey, there's no reviews here, or there's one review here. You don't think it's probably that great of a blanket, do you? You have no experience of it. You can just read what the description says, but you don't know if it's going to be a great blanket or if it's going to be a terrible blanket because you have no experience with that, because the only thing that you see is one rating. So social proof is just that. When you look at an item on Amazon, say you're looking for a blanket, and you come on this listing for this blanket that has 100 reviews and 75 of them are good, but maybe 25 of them are bad. You still are going to probably buy that blanket, right? Because the bad reviews don't outweigh the good reviews. The good reviews outweigh the bad ones. And so honestly, you are going to be doing that and you're going to buy those. That's what social proof is. It's the idea of regular people like you reviewing the product and saying it's either good or bad. That's social proof in a nutshell. So social proof is you're seeing socially, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram or the review comment of a website, you're seeing the comments and people coming in. You're seeing that where people want to see the show. They want to come in and they want to view your show because other people have said that yes, this is good. You should listen to it. A show that doesn't have any reviews is probably going to be skipped over when people are looking at it because there's no social proof. Also, how can reviews be important? It's listener feedback. You're getting direct insight on what your audience enjoys about your show. Yes, that may come with some downsides. That may come with some things where people are saying, hey, I don't like this show. This guy's voice stinks, or it could be made. This is terrible quality, blah, 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 blah. That's not really great. Yeah. It's an opportunity for you to take those feedback and get direct insight on what the people are saying about your show. So maybe you do have bad audio quality. Maybe you do have something that can be improved. Or maybe you are doing a great job and your people are going to tell you in the feedback. That's what reviews do. They are reviewing your show, and so your listeners are giving you direct feedback and insight on what they like. They are telling you what they like right away. They are telling you. And so use this as a chance to get feedback. Maybe that even means printing those out and hanging them on the wall behind your camera, behind your microphone, so that you can look up and see when you do have a bad review. Oh, there's one bad review, but there's 100 good, positive reviews. So that's what the listener feedback allows you to do. It allows you to get that feedback. It also helps attract sponsors. Sponsors are going to look at your reviews when they're looking for to sponsor your show. They're going to say, "Oh, Podcast Answers has no reviews. Maybe it's not a show that we actually want to do because we don't know that there are actually people listening to it." Or Podcast Answers has 150 reviews or 3,000 reviews. This looks like a show that a lot of people are listening to. And so it actually helps attract sponsors. So yes, it does matter in that. Does it really help though with the algorithm? That's what I'm hearing. People say a lot. It helps people find our show. If you're meaning social proof, if you're meaning listener feedback, attracting sponsors, then yes, it does do that. But Apple has said over and over and over and over again, it does not help with the algorithm. Just because you have 3,000 likes and reviews does not put you higher on the charts for us to display your show. There are a lot of other things that Apple takes into consideration when they're going to recommend your show, but not necessarily the feedback and ratings and reviews. So does it really help that? I'm going to say no. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. Yes, it helps you. It helps you get the warm and fuzzies inside to know people like you. It helps social proof. It helps people see it and know, yes, it's going to be a good show, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be delivered more on the recommended charts or things like that. So how do you go about getting reviews? Reviews can sometimes be scary because you have to actually a lot of times ask for them. A lot of times when I'm listening to a podcast, I don't think I should go out and rate and review this podcast unless I'm actually asked. So that's where a call to action or a CTA comes into play. Keep it simple and tell them exactly what you want them to do. If you've not heard our episode on CTAs or calls to actions, we did an episode a while back about that. And one of the most important things is to keep them simple. Don't have like 3 or 4 calls to actions in your podcast because people aren't going to do them. You can maybe get away with one at the top and one at the bottom, but most of the time, just have your call to action at the bottom. Tell them what you want to do. Keep it simple. So, along with keeping it simple, it could be something like, "Hey, rate and review our show. It really just helps other people know that this is a great show," or it helps give me warm fuzzies, helps me know that you guys love this show. But keep it simple, and then also make it easy. Provide direct links to your review pages in your show notes. So show notes are super helpful. If you're not familiar with show notes, a lot of times you'll hear people say, "We're putting that in our show notes. We're putting that in our show notes." Well, what exactly are show notes? Show notes are that in your podcast app, you can click and see the description. It's a description of the episode. So you have a title, something like on this episode, it's going to be podcast reviews. How important are they? But then the description is me saying, this is what I'm talking about, blah, 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 blah. You can put your links in there. Most playing apps will allow you to click those links. But even if they don't, having them in there and having them super simple is easy. And again, if you've not heard our episode on URL shortenings and shorteners, do that. Listen to that episode, because that's a good episode as far as how to keep your links simple and brand your links. So keep it simple. Provide the direct links to your review pages in your show notes. Because again, while they're listening, they can go in, click the link, and be taken right to the review page. Whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Podchaser, those are all places to get reviews and many more. But put a few of those links in your show notes. Again, give them instructions, because maybe people don't know how to leave a review or that they can leave a review or where to leave a review. So make sure that when you're telling them, not just go and rate and review the show, tell them how. Tell them how. Say, hey, there's a link in the show notes. Click on that. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. Both matter. Engage with your reviews. This is a super important topic here. Engage with your reviews. When you get a review, mention it in your show. Give a shout out on your show. People love hearing their names said on a podcast. It's amazing. Guys, podcasting, anybody can do podcasting. I'm a firm believer anybody can do podcasting. And I think that they should if they have something to say. But anybody can do podcasting. Not in the days of old where you had to become trained in radio. You had to go to a studio. You had to get hired by a radio studio and do a radio show. Anybody can do a radio show now. And so, but people still think that you're famous. You're doing a show, and it makes them feel warm and fuzzy when you say their name on the show. So you can say something like John Huvuviak just sent in a review this last week, and he said, loving the show. It's such a great help for me when I'm trying to make my podcast. I've learned so much from Andy. You can say, thanks, John, for sending that in. We love to hear you. We love making the show for you. Engage with your reviewers. Give them shout outs. They love hearing their names on the show. They love hearing their comments on the show. One of the other things you can do is incentivize your reviews. And by incentivizing, I'm meaning doing a contest. Give something away. Say a contest like, hey, we're running a contest for the next 2 weeks. And everybody who puts a review in gets their name entered into a contest to win the next Rodecaster Pro. Or whatever. That's not a contest I'm giving, guys. That's not a contest. But you could say something like that. Or gets a free consultation with me for doing podcasts. Or whatever. So you could do a contest and say, I'm going to give away one of these things. I'm going to give away a free hour consultation with me on how to build your podcast or starting your podcast or whatever. For the next 2 weeks, anyone putting in a review gets entered into the drawing. That's a great way because people want to win things. And so if you are giving away things, they're more likely to enter in and actually put those in. Now, again, you're not buying them. People are honestly putting their reviews in. The other thing that you can do to get reviews is using your network. We all have those people. We all have people we know. Mom, dad, sisters, brothers, husbands, wives. We all know people that may or may not listen to the show. But they can be good inspirations too. Tell them that. Say, hey, listen to this latest episode that I did and go ahead and put in a review. They're going to probably do it because they know you and they want to help you out with your endeavors. And your endeavors being starting your show, starting your podcast. And so they want to help you with that. We all have those people. We all have parents. We may not all have spouses and we may not all have kids, but we all have parents. We all have friends that you can ask and say, hey, go over to my show and leave a rating and a review. I would love it if you would do that. Also, you can collaborate with other podcasters that are in your niche. Ask them to review. Like I'm doing this podcast about podcasting, and there are 150 other podcasts that do podcasts about podcasting. I'm not the only one. And so you can ask those other podcasters, say, hey, would you mind reviewing my show and giving me a like, subscribe, review, a rating? That also helps social proof too, because if people see, oh, this podcaster who is talking about the same topic likes Andy's podcast, they're likely to give it a try. Now, they may not stick around, but they may. You can also promote it on social media. Ask people in an IG or a Facebook story, do a YouTube short, something where you're saying, hey guys, if you like our show, if we've given you any value at all, go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe, a whatever, a review. Give us, and here's how you do it. Click on this link right here in this story. And again, you could go ahead and set a page on your website. And that's actually probably the best way to do it. So have a page on your website that says /rate and review. So podcastanswers.com/rate and review. And then you can have all of the ways in there. Say, hey, are you a Apple Podcast listener? Click here. Are you a Spotify listener? Click here. Are you a YouTube subscriber? Click here. These are how you can go and rate and review our show. Do you not listen to any of those? You can go and do it on Podchaser. Because that way it allows them to choose what they want to review it in. Their podcast app of choice. Promote it on social media. Now, where can you focus on getting reviews? I've mentioned a lot during this episode already. You can go to Apple Podcasts. That's like one of the largest directories around, is Apple Podcast. Lots of people have Apple phones, iPhones, and they would love to review your show. Spotify is another great thing. Spotify, now they don't allow for written reviews, but you can rate your podcast. So give them a 5-star or whatever. Podchaser is not really a app to listen to podcasts in, but what it is it's like the IMDb of podcasts. So if you've heard of IMDb before, it's where you're watching a show and you're like, hey, I think that actor was in such and such a other show. And so you go back and you look at IMDb. It's the Internet Movie Database. Podchaser is like that. It's like the IMDb of podcasts. You can look at a specific podcast and you can see who was guesting on it. You can look for specific people and see what podcasts that they were on. It's a great tool. It also allows you to rate and review podcasts. Go there. Check and see if your podcast is in Podchaser. If not, you can submit it. If you do video, like I do for this show, this episode, this podcast is on YouTube. Encourage people to comment on the YouTube video. Comment on the YouTube video and let me know what you like about it. So you can tell people, hey, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you comment on this video. Tell me how much you like the content of this video in a comment. All right, guys, that is pretty much what I have as far as ratings and reviews go. But I want to remind you quickly, these are some mistakes. Don't do that. Don't beg or sound desperate. It kind of shows that you are whining. Like, help us. Help this show out. Please, 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 please. Don't do that. Don't do that. People read that all day. People will see that and say, I'm not going to do that. They're just begging. The other thing you don't want to do is pay for reviews. Do not pay for reviews. It's not only not ethical, it's not honest, but it can get you banned from a lot of the shows. So don't pay for reviews. So, guys, with that, I want you to know, if you've not rated this podcast, do that as soon as this episode ends, right? If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go to the show and leave us a rating or review. So this is my call to action right now. If you've not rated this podcast, go ahead and do it as soon as this episode ends, because I would like to see your ratings and reviews. I'm just going to be honest. I would love to hear what you know about this show, what you don't like about this show. If you're in Spotify, click a rating. Let us know. 1 star, 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment or go to podchaser.com and search Podcast Answers. I would love to see the comments that you have about this show and just in general what you enjoy about this show. So, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you have topics for us, make sure you send us in the topics. We would love to cover that because, again, this is a podcast answer show. This is a show where you ask questions and we answer them. Guys, have a great week and keep podcasting.